My
Hi.
notes. Howdy.
Howdy. I was like, oh, are we going to say hi? We were in the middle of a conversation. Ocean was a big fan of the color contrast. My notes are significantly more
Thank
boring than
you.
yours.
I was
So
waiting this morning to see if you had changed it. I didn't know if my color choices were going to overwhelm you.
it did a little bit because he came over and he was like, ooh. And I was like, yes. I was like, I'm not going to change it because I don't want her to be upset. But it is not my favorite. But that's not your fault. That's a me problem. Yeah, I've learned recently that people with anxiety and like this is anxiety, like generalized anxiety, have issues with like sensory problems as well. Because my therapist screened me for autism. Turns out it's not autism. I think it's just anxiety that like makes me have like sensory issues with things like foods and stuff and colors or like
Colors is an interesting one for me.
disorganization, I guess.
I think
Yeah.
lack of color gives me anxiety. Like a white background with black font. How am I going to retain any of that information? I don't like looking at it.
Okay, that's fine. People are different. Oh, by the way, my hair's different.
People are
Speaking
different.
of which,
Oh yeah,
everybody's
you
so
I
creative.
It is darker. Sorry I didn't notice before. I like it.
It's okay. It's also greasy, so that's probably another reason why. Um, yes, it's shorter as well. I can take it out.
Yeah, do a reveal.
Wow,
I
that
love it.
is horrid. But you get the point.
How does it feel?
Oh my god, it's a weight off. A literal weight off. I'm so happy. And he dyed it just the perfect color. And it's
I
just a
like
little
it.
bit darker than my natural color. And I'm just so happy with it. And I feel more myself with this hair than with my blonde mess. And my hair's
Very nice.
thicker and nicer. And yeah, I'm just happier with it.
I like
My
it a
greasy
lot.
bangs that I have now.
I love your greasy bangs.
My greasy bang. Look at them. Look how limp.
They're
Anyways.
beautiful. I went to a reptile show yesterday.
Oh, where?
It was at the Rogers Convention Center.
Oh, good. Yeah, my favorite venue,
Uh,
actually.
it was mostly, it was very gecko heavy and snake heavy. I
No, I'm.
almost came home with the new jumping spider friend, but decided against it.
You almost bought a jumping spider,
They're so little and easy to take care of.
and yet jumping is in the name.
But okay, you don't understand. They're like these tiny little guys and they have little personalities and they just kind of crawl around on you and hang out. They're not scary. And I don't like spiders, so I can say that. That's that's my credibility for my claim.
Or is he like? Oh my god, why are they so small? Um,
Exactly. They're tiny little guys. And they wave. They'll wave at you. I'm telling you, dude. Jumping spiders are the future.
I mean, I think their eyes are very endearing. However,
Right?
do I want that to be my pet? Not particularly. One of the
Okay.
easiest pets ever
Again,
and
people can be
cutest.
different.
Sure. There's a 16-minute YouTube video about it from a
About
channel
jumping
called
spiders?
Snake Discovery. One of the easiest pets ever and cutest in parentheses. Why is it easy? Like,
It doesn't take much to take care of them. Literally like a little 4x4x4 box with some
I'm seeing these boxes now.
decorations in it.
Hmm.
I don't know what
That
they
would have been
eat.
very punk rock of you to do that.
If you would have seen the enclosures they had to offer, they were
I would
not
think
very punk
otherwise.
rock enclosures.
Oh my
Uh,
god! Now I'm looking at the enclosures
they were just
now.
really cutesy decorated. Yeah.
They've got little mushrooms and hammocks and
Um,
stuff.
yeah, I ended up not because we got talking with this girl who owns Gecko Fancy is her company, and
Mm-hmm.
she was telling us about she does like genetic testing on all of like she breeds geckos but hand raises all of them, so it's not just like puppy mill, or I guess
Hey, that's a
gecko mill.
crazy hobby. Just saying.
And so I was like, okay, well, you know your shit. So who around here should we not vibe with? And she looked at me like, uh,
The jumping spider lady.
she said, I can tell you who you can vibe with. And it was two other booths, and that was it in this big
Only
convention
two.
hall. Yeah.
There's tea in the reptile world. The Northwest
Oh,
Arkansas
yeah.
reptile world.
Oh, yeah.
Niche. Well, I would
It is.
imagine it's kind of a small community, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
Well, there was one of the tents she pointed to was a group from Texas. But yeah, she was awesome. She also designed a bunch of stickers and keychains and stuff. So obviously, I got 5 stickers and a pin for my tote bag. And what else?
how much is a genetically perfect gecko?
They were like 100 to 200, I think.
She's making
That could be
good
wrong.
money,
Maybe
isn't she?
75. I don't remember. I saw a lot of price tags on a lot of boxes on a lot of booths. They also had tortoises. There was one booth that had tortoises. Obviously, they weren't one of the vibe checked ones, and so I just, admired the tortoises and moved on. But they were just little like babies, and there was one that was trying to munch lettuce, and he went up to a piece of lettuce and it was a little bit too tall for him, but he kept trying and then eventually got it, and it was just the best moment
That is
ever.
horrifically cute.
No,
That
I
is
think I need a
so
tortoise.
disgusting.
I've actually already
Oh yeah,
decided we
you
will
need a
have
tortoise that
tortoises
lives
one
for
day.
200 years. That's a great idea.
Once we are in a more
I'm not
permanent
taking it.
location, and I wouldn't ask you to.
Well, because
Let
we're
me
probably gonna
ship this
die
to
around the
Spain.
same time. Let
Yeah.
me ship my 150-year-old tortoise to you. Tortoises live forever. How can people have them as pets? Who do they get passed down to? Are they
They
like
don't live. It
heirlooms?
depends
I have
on
a
the
lot of
tortoise. They
questions.
don't all live like hundreds of years.
This is how I'm learning. There's tortoises that don't live hundreds of years. Just so you know.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Most species do live between 80 and 150 years.
Okay, so like, is it then even ethical to have them as a pet?
Yeah, because what if. Maddie, please just let me.
I'm not letting you
Maddie,
get a fucking
Maddie,
tortoise. I'm sorry.
Maddie, please.
We're already.
I'm
Do
sorry.
you
What are you
think
going
you're
to do?
gonna
Stop
live to
me
the
from
age of
Spain? Nice
Methuselah?
try. I just. It's not that crazy to have tortoises. I also want to have emus. Think about that.
Emus live till. Emus are
Not that
scary.
old. No, ostriches are scary. Emus are nice.
I
Yeah.
thought they were both.
I mean, ostriches are really assholes. Emus are just like assholes in the way that birds can be assholes.
Do you remember that there's
Ostriches
like
are
a
like, oh, I want to peck your brains out.
yeah, there's a famous emu
10 to
on
20
TikTok.
years, 35 years in captivity. They live longer in captivity, emus do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They want to be captive. I would just have them roaming around on my land.
Your hypothetical land with your hypothetical tortoises that will outlive you by 100 years.
That's why Mac and Addie are going to have a kid so they can take them on. Problem solved.
Problem solved. And Toby, who no doubt would
Toby will take care
be
of
his
the
match in
emus
the
and the
emu.
tortoises. Yeah, that would be a sight to see.
Truly. He would not know what to do, I don't think. Small little brain would explode.
Definitely not. What else? I feel like I did something else exciting. Oh, my dad retired. I
Oh
went to his
yeah.
retirement party last week.
Congrats, Mike.
Have you ever seen? Actually, the answer is probably yes. I was gonna say, have you ever been in a room with a bunch of drunk old people?
100% yes. On multiple occasions.
Have you ever been in a room with a bunch of drunk medical professionals?
No. No. The only two medical professionals I've been
They
around
get
drunk
rowdy. If there's
are
one thing about
Auschwitz
medical
parents.
professionals, it's that they're not gonna go to therapy. So when they get drunk, it all comes out.
Yeah. Oh my god. The last time we went, maybe this, I don't remember if this was Christmas or if this was last summer. basically, Oshin's dad's wife is an ER nurse. Because his dad's a retired ER nurse. So obviously Oshin grew up listening to like all the things that people put in their orifices at, various times. And then Maria, his wife, was telling us about this person who had built his own plane and then like crashed it, obviously. Like, and she had to treat them and like all their injuries. And I was like, this is crazy and probably violating some laws, but like insane. Like, so good to listen to medical professionals.
Yeah, it was so funny. By the end of it, like, all of the like just my dad's other friends had left, and it was just like his nurses from throughout the years, and then like my mom's friend group
Mm-hmm.
from growing
Who
up.
I can imagine
was
are
there.
also rowdy when they're drunk.
Everyone, the nurses were nuts. My mom at one point said, "This is why we don't do a Christmas party anymore," because they were all so drunk that she said they're never hosting one ever again, and that the retirement party was like a flashback to that event.
She was
but
like,
at least
I'm
it
having
wasn't in her own
PTSD,
house.
actually.
It was incredible. It was
I'm very glad that
the
you
best
had
retirement
fun.
party that
That's good, to be
my
honest.
dad could have had, I think. He gave a speech. There was like a little stage, and my friend's dad was playing guitar, and my dad stopped to give a speech. But the background of the stage, it had all these cool lights behind it, but there were two 2 or 3 foot wide strips of lights on either side, and it was like pink, purple, and blue. So I told my mom that my dad was giving a speech in front of the bisexual pride flag.
That's so good. He's like,
And I was like,
hello,
I love
fellow
how
bisexual.
supportive he is. And I tried to tell him that, and he was like, I'm too drunk to understand what you're saying to me.
He was like, what? He's like, I don't. I'm unsure.
He was like, what do you mean? I still don't. I couldn't tell you if he remembers me telling him that, but
that is
the whole night was really just a night for
hilarious.
Bisexual pride.
It was just bisexual pride, actually. That's all it was
happy retirement, Mike.
A doctor's retirement
bisexuality. It was so good. So
That's
obviously
so
I was
good.
also drunk that night on wine, which is the worst. And then
I always cry
the next
when I'm
day,
drunk on wine.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, yeah, no, I didn't. But the next day we went out to dinner with some family that was in town, and my mom and I told the waiter that we were the fun side of the table. So then I was drinking again, and I don't drink that often, but then that was night 2. And then the following night after that, we drove over to Yellville, Arkansas for our friend Kinley and Zane's wedding. And it was beautiful and perfect, but obviously I was drinking again. And then Sunday, on the drive back from Yellville, I had to do a site visit for work because we were passing right past the tower that I was going to have to go to anyway. And so I was like, 4 days before, pre any alcohol consumption, I was like, yeah, this makes so much sense. It's literally on the way back. I'll just do it then. Yeah. And so I had to be driving around Huntsville, Arkansas, taking pictures of a cell tower while hungover. Luckily, Aiden was driving, and so I just had to hop out of the car and take a picture. But
well, obviously, Aiden was driving in this case. I feel like it's like if you're hungover, I don't feel that the thing is that you're going to drive.
I think it was the first time he's ever really experienced a hangover.
The first time?
He was like, yeah, it's annoying, I'm aware. But he was like, I think I'm sick or maybe caught something. Yeah, but he was like, it's not really like a headache, like a hangover. And I was like, well, not all hangovers are just headaches. Hasn't had to deal with a hangover, still thinks it's like in the movies.
He's like,
and that was such a wild concept to me. He took like, it's not a like sick day the next day. He took a sick day the next day, and I'm not making fun of him because I felt like ass too. But I also was like, I knew that's what it was.
You said I knew the consequences. But then
he had me questioning, are we sick? But also, it's never taken me that long to recover before, which makes sense because it was 3 nights in a row of
I was
drinking,
gonna
which
say
I will
you
never
drank
be
3
doing ever
nights in a
again.
row. That's like
Um,
every time. Literally, I told you about this summer when I thought we were dying because we had we stayed out until 4 a.m. at a birthday party.
yeah.
Not 4 a.m. 3, 2, 2. We were in bed by 3, but like absolutely like terrifyingly drunk, both of us, because we accidentally drank these like grocery store brand beers that were like 6.5% unbeknownst to us, and then just got absolutely like trashed, and then
Yeah.
woke up and had to go to a birthday lunch at 11 a.m. the next morning. So we literally powered through, and we get to this birthday lunch, and Ashin sits down and says, I want a beer and a shot of something. Just something to the waiter. And the waiter was like, okay. And then later that night, consequently, it was also, what's 36 degrees? Like 36 degrees Celsius in Fahrenheit. 96 degrees. It was 96 degrees and sunny the whole time we were drinking.
Jesus.
So,
Absolutely not. Absolutely
and
not.
so we drink until 6 p.m. the next day. So mind you, we've been drinking from like 7 p.m. Friday night to 6 p.m. Basically, we took a 6-hour nap and then like drank till 6 p.m. the next day. And we both just had to lay in the dark, quiet room and be like, could we be dying? Or is this hangover? Is this delayed onset?
Who knows?
I understand how it feels to
Yeah, all
take a
that
while
to say,
to
I will
get.
be
Yeah.
California sober for the foreseeable future. No alcohol in my sights. Please. Yeah.
Like, hangovers are just.
So
I mean, you saw me struggle with the absolute worst hangovers of all time when I was in college.
you saw my worst. The morning of my graduation.
The morning of your graduation. I do not know how. I still am in awe of myself for like powering out of bed, taking a shower, throwing up in said shower, and then and then going to Target at 7:30 in the morning, getting us Dramamine, liquid IV, and like
You got
I don't know
something.
what else I would have got, like Gatorade maybe, and
Yeah.
then I
Survival
came home
supplies.
and like forced you to get out of bed, and you sat on the floor while I fed you Dramamine and liquid IV in the middle of the kitchen floor, just.
And then
You
I
were
had to
truly
just
like,
flat iron the mats in my hair so
yep.
that it looked somewhat
Yeah.
decent for graduation.
I
The
had a
good thing
graduation
about that,
party.
though, was it was during COVID, so all I had to do was make it across the stage, and then it was over
And then
because
you
you would
could
just
leave.
walk right
Yeah.
outside. So
Yeah.
if it
But
had been
my
a full length graduation, I would not have. You're a Whipple, so you had to sit through the whole thing.
well, yeah.
But you were probably less hungover. You were less hungover.
No,
You
I
weren't
don't think it.
hungover.
I don't. No,
Because we went out
yes, I
that
was.
night, didn't we?
We went
Or
out on
did we
Friday
do?
night.
Was it?
We went out on Friday night because I graduated Friday night,
Yeah.
and then we were both deathly hungover on Saturday morning. But I
Yeah.
had to. I had to go
You
to my
had the
graduation
party.
party with my
Yeah.
2 friends, and then I subsequently.
Oh, and you had to do the shot ski?
And then I drank an entire bottle of champagne. Hey, what the hell's wrong with me? Hey, what? Who did I think
Hey,
I was?
why do we do that?
Hey, to be fair,
Why'd no one say no?
one of my friends today asked me what my favorite year was, and I was like what your favorite age was. And I genuinely, I said 22, 22, 23. Like last year of college into first year in Spain. I just did whatever the hell I wanted, and like there was like barely any consequences. It was great. Like it was incredible. Would I do it now? No, because I would die. I truly believe I would die now. But like, I don't know. What's your favorite age? Have you ever thought about that? I'd never thought about that. I thought it was a good question.
No, but I'm thinking about it now. I really liked like 21, 22, I think. Right
Yeah.
before COVID.
Yeah.
Because that was when I started working out outdoors, and I had good people from. I had found the cool ones in Young Life, and good people from outdoors. And I got to, yeah, that was, I think, summer of sophomore year into junior year. Junior year was great before COVID.
Junior year was great before COVID. I don't know if I would say great. I did live in a sorority house, so there was that. But
Yeah, I didn't have that part.
no, I did. Speaking of sorority, and That's Why We Drink has like this podcast network now,
Mm-hmm.
Parapods. They Creeps and Crimes is one of the shows that they have on there.
Mm-hmm.
And Creeps and Crimes is two girls who were in DG at the University of Tennessee. And on the Yappy Hour, uh, whenever they did a collab episode with Creeps and Crime, they
Mm-hmm.
started singing the Pref Round song for DG on the Yappy Hour, and Christina and Em were like, "Oh my god!" And I was like,
Get me out of here.
I was like, I never thought I would have to hear this song ever again in my life. What the hell is going on? So that
When
was
I was
weird.
going through Rush, one of the sorority houses, like, I think it was Kappa, they like scream at you when you walk in. It was on like the
Kaio.
first day. It's Kaio, they scream at you.
It's Kaio.
Yeah, that was, what kind of recruitment tool is that? Huh? Hang on, let me
I
scream in
don't.
your face.
I think that recruitment is like a little taste of hell, of what must be hell, because what's the point?
Yeah.
I
No, I
don't know.
agree.
On
Like, it's
both
one thing that
sides.
the little door opening cheers, but it's when you walk in and they decide that what they're gonna do is ah. I'm like, I'm just trying to walk to my seat. Why are you yelling?
And it's demonic
Awful.
sounding, and also like
It's a
they start
week of sensory
levitating.
overload,
The
ending
eyes
in
are
a
going in the back of the
sleepover
head.
that I leave early because I don't want to be a part of it anymore.
God, we did not have a sleepover, thank God. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of good things. There was a lot of bad things about being in a sorority at an SEC school, but the good things came from the fact that my sorority was brand new and had no idea what they were doing. So it was
Yeah, I
like,
think I would have had a lot more fun if I was
it was just,
DG.
it was
That
just
was my other
like
option.
chill. But
You know what's crazy to think about? What if we were like in line together at Rush at some point and had no
wasn't it
idea? I
alphabetical?
don't know. I had no idea. I just did what I was told
I
to
don't know.
do.
I've blocked most of recruitment out, to be honest with you. Um, don't remember a lot of it.
It was my
Yeah,
entire
no, I
sorority
mean, I think
experience.
about that a lot. Like, I mean, I don't know. We didn't say that this is a shared brain cell, but it is.
Oh.
So,
Welcome. Well, I mean, I
welcome.
guess, yeah. It'll say on the episode title.
Yeah, we kind of just got into it without.
Well, yeah,
I
you.
needed, I needed to rant today. Feels a lot better than just
Yeah.
having any coherent thoughts.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the shared brain cell episode.
Episode 3, right? No, 4?
I
No,
think so. I
3.
think 3. Mm-hmm.
Because we did.
Yeah. I wrote Braincell 3 as the title of the doc,
Oh, yes, you did. Yeah.
but that was also just a guess.
I figured you
Okay.
didn't fact check beforehand. Shall we get into it? Or
If
do you
it's
have
something
anything
about me,
else?
it's that I'm not going to fact check. That's a
No,
lie.
I'm saying like for things that don't matter, you're not gonna
Yeah,
fact.
sometimes for
I
things
keep
that do matter, like
staring.
pronunciations, I'm never going to remember to look them up.
Oh no, I did not remember to look
Every
anything up.
week
But
when I'm, just doom scrolling on the STEM TikTok page, I find another word that I've been mispronouncing my whole life.
well,
Anyhow,
anywho, it is what it is.
it is what it is. Uh, Speaking of not knowing
Anyways,
what to pronounce, I'm not sure if there's any of that in these notes because I didn't look. So
I don't think there is for me. Well, it's all very. Oh no, there is one actually, but I don't remember where it is. Well,
yeah, we'll cross it when we get to it.
Cross that bridge when we get to it. I'm also going to be doing
Okay.
a lot of, like, I found a really good website, so I might just read an entire article. Just so you know, because they did it in a way that is much better than anything I could ever do. So, yeah.
Um, Most of
I
my
just
information
parts
comes
of it, but
from, well, I guess, well, today we're talking about Lake Superior
and the
and
Edmund Fitzgerald,
the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
which is
So,
also the title of the 1976 song, which made Googling
yeah.
this a lot harder. But it's fine.
Yeah, a lot of my information comes from, well, there was one that I found, this law school that did like a, has a page on their website and it's just a bunch of fun facts about Lake Superior.
Good.
So I did that and then fact checked off of that, or found, other things to deep dive. And then also the NOAA, obviously.
Listen,
And then Spooky Lake months, because on the 31st of October every year, Geo covers Lake Superior and different things about it. So after I took my notes, I went through and watched all of the Spooky Lake month coverage of Lake Superior
of
over
Lake
the years
Superior.
and added a little bit here
Cool.
and there.
I got basically all of my information from the Great Lakes Shipwreck Historical Society. So I feel like that's a pretty good source, considering
Yes.
they're the ones that have
Yeah.
conducted all the investigations. So
They're the ones that look at it.
they're run by the website is the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum, which is I think a branch of the Weather Bureau, the U.S. Weather Bureau.
Fun.
Yeah. Anyways,
Okay.
you want to go?
Want to get started? Yeah.
Let's do it.
So, first I'm going to talk about Lake Superior.
No, actually,
It's a really
can you say the subtitles? Da Lake. Da Lake.
I'm going to talk about the lake. It is Big Lake.
Big Lake.
Uh It's 350 miles long and 160 miles wide. So in the summer, the sun actually sets 35 minutes later than on the western shore of the lake than on the southeastern edge,
Crazy.
which is crazy. It's the world's largest freshwater lake by surface area. It's greater than the areas of Vermont, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New Hampshire combined.
Crazy. So you could fit all of
Bigger
those states
than
in
all of
Lake
them.
Superior.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
right? Yeah.
technically
Sort of.
an inland freshwater sea.
Is it a sea?
No,
Does
it's
it
not a
qualify?
sea. It's
Well,
not a
it's not a
sea,
sea
but
because sea is saltwater. But yeah, it is. Yeah.
it like they would be considered a sea, like seas. The Great Lakes would be considered seas
If they were saltwater.
if they were not freshwater,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah. It's a real deep lake. So the
Deep
average
lake.
depth is about 500 feet. The deepest point in the lake, 1,300 feet, or like 400 meters deep. And it contains more water than all of the other Great Lakes combined. You would have to throw in another 2 Lake Eries on top of all of the other Great Lakes to get enough water to fill Lake Superior. And it's second in water only to Lake Baikal in Russia, which is smaller by surface area but so deep.
I would like you to do a episode on Lake Baikal because I also find Lake Baikal fascinating.
Yeah, Lake Baikal is very cool. Big fan. So Lake Superior contains 10% of all of the available fresh water on Earth, which is crazy.
Okay.
And if you emptied out Lake Superior, it could cover all of North and South America in 1 foot of water.
Hey, that's nuts.
Hey, that's crazy, right?
Hey, that's insane. Makes me feel
Pretty wild.
uncomfortable for some reason.
You know, honestly, as it should. That's so much water. Okay, so how did Lake Superior form? So, a couple different processes. It started about 1 billion years ago when the mid-continent rift formed. So, basically, the Earth's crust started to stretch apart and break. And then it kind of failed. I don't know why. I don't know that anyone really knows why, from what I could tell. Sometimes rifts just fail to create seas. So this one is an example of that. And what happened was layers of lava would come in as the rift opened up and magma came up. Layers of lava would fill in and get heavy and collapse the basin. And then sediment from, there's like 200 rivers that flow into Lake Superior. I don't know if it was the same then, but sediment from the rivers flows in and covers over on top of the lava. And then more lava would come on and it would just create layers
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
And then the glaciers came in about 2 million years ago, and they kind of bulldozed away a lot of that hard work that the lava and sediment were putting in and created kind of the bowl that Lake Superior is in now that we see.
Okay.
So they started melting like 10,000 years ago. And as they retreated, water filled the basin left behind by them, and that is how Lake Superior formed.
So it's cold, I would imagine.
It is cold. Yeah. Yep.
You'll get to that
I'll get
later.
it.
I can
I'll
see.
get to that.
Sorry.
It is very cold, yes. I felt like I was going to say something else, but I forgot what it was. So we'll just move on, I guess. That seems good too. All right. So Lake Superior. How do?
I don't know what that means. But
and that is for me to know, so it's okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Lake Superior doesn't really have tides like you see in seas or oceans, but it does have seaches. And this is kind of a situation, so single kind of standing wave oscillates back and forth like a pendulum. And it happens because if there's strong winds or rapid changes in the atmospheric pressure, it kind of piles up water on one end of the lake. And then when that wind stops, it rebounds to the other side.
That makes sense to me.
So then it just kind of, the waves are going back and forth. And it can take like 8 hours to cross the lake and come back again, which is why it kind of seems like tides, but it's not.
Yeah. It's just winds. It's not controlled by the moon.
Correct. Yeah. A scarier version of this is meteo tsunamis. And they're kind of similar. They're driven by air pressure disturbances caused by storms, and these create crazy waves, like 30 feet tall. And they're really bad because they're created by wind, so it's not like normal waves where you have one and then you have another, and it's like a pretty systematic process. Because it's caused by wind, it can just be waves constantly banging one after another.
That's insane.
Like, you don't have one going out and then coming back in, and then another one. It can just be wave, wave, wave. Like crazy. And really tall. It's usually the worst in like October and November, so now stay away from Lake Superior. In November, the storms have their own name because they're so bad. They're called witches, and this is what causes a lot of shipwrecks.
Hey, that's a good reason to stay away if the storms are literally named witches.
Yeah, so these witches cause like hurricane force winds and massive waves. It happens when I think cold air from Canada meets with the warm air coming up from the Gulf of Mexico, and it just creates a disaster.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The place that experiences kind of the worst of all of this is Whitefish Bay. It's called the graveyard of the Great Lakes, and it's one of the first areas of the lakes that gets icy and often deals with a lot of lake effect snow, which is basically snow that's created by the air from Canada coming down over the lake. The moisture from the lake goes up because the lake's a little bit warmer than the cold air from Canada, and then creates snow that goes over the land.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So yeah, it is. Lake Superior's cold, and it's very freezy, but it's not too freezy. It's the coldest of all the Great Lakes, but it rarely completely freezes over. So in 2019, almost 90% of the lake was covered in ice at one point. Per the NOAA, which that was another pronunciation. I don't know if they call it NOAA, but I've started seeing everyone just say the letters NOAA, so I'm going to start doing that instead of calling it NOAA. And I don't know which one's right or not. I mean, NOAA is probably more accurate than saying NOAA, so I'm just going to do that. Anyhow, per them, the average maximum coverage on the lake is like 61.5%. And it's so cold because it's massive and big, and so it basically just takes longer to warm up. And it's in a cold area of the world in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's also super clear. So in some places, visibility can reach like 100 feet, but on average, it's you can see around 27 feet
That's
in front of you, or 8.2 meters. And a lot of this is because there's not a lot of organic material. The rock surrounding the lake kind of serves as a filter and filters the water entering the lake, which limits the amount of nutrients that are needed for plant growth. It does still have an ecosystem, though. So there's plankton, invertebrates, and cold water fish. There's nearly 70 million diporia.
that is
They
a
look kind of like
word that is
shrimps.
very close to diarrhea.
Yeah. They
Almost
kind of look like
uncomfortably so.
shrimps.
Shrimp.
Uh-huh.
Shrimps
These
is
little
bugs.
shrimps, they have a total biomass greater than that of the human population in the entire Lake Superior Basin area. So you have the lake, and then you have the lake basin.
Mm-hmm.
The basin is like the total area that essentially could be filled. The lake is the area that is filled with water.
And
So
people
you have
live
like a
in
whole depression,
people live
but
in
the
the
lake really
basin.
only fills here. And then, yeah, you have people
Yeah.
living around in the basin. And so there's more diporia in the lake. Their biomass is greater than all of the humans that live in the basin area. Ain't that
Yeah.
crazy? That's a lot of little shrimps.
That is a lot of little
They're not
shrimps.
shrimps. I shouldn't call them that, but the website said they kind of look like shrimps, and so I'm going with shrimps.
Shrimps is bugs.
And I like saying shrimps. Okay. So the lake being super cold and also super clear makes it super spooky. The cold water doesn't allow bacteria to grow. And because there's no bacteria to mess with bodies that may end up down there, and it's so cold that they just stay preserved for a very long time. And the water's clear, so you can see all that shit. And
Brings
that's
us to the Edmund Fitzgerald. No?
yep, my next note is storms plus cold plus clear wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
And that's fair. So yeah,
Your turn. The
that does
wreck.
bring us to the Edmund Fitzgerald. Derek. Derek. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the background of the Edmund Fitzgerald of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and then we will talk about the wreck. So the SS Edmund Fitzgerald was it was a business venture conceived, and I didn't really understand this. So it was a business venture of the Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company of Milwaukee. Why they decided to build a ship, I don't
Well, it
really
was a
understand.
cargo ship, wasn't it? But also, what does insurance need cargo for?
Life insurance companies don't need steel.
Yeah, what are you cargoing?
So I was a little confused about that, but basically, so they contracted this out to the Great Lakes Engineering Works, who were to construct a maximum sized Great Lakes bulk carrier, which I assume is a type of ship, I said in my notes.
Sounds like it.
Its keel was laid on August 7th, 1957, and it was worked on until early 1958. She was the biggest ship on the Great Lakes for 13 years until 1971. She was 729 feet or 222 meters long, and she weighed, without cargo, she weighed 13,632 tons or 12,366 metric tons. She was named after the president of and the chairman of the board of the Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company. I came up with an acronym because I thought that was easier. But it's really not, because it's the NWMLIC. So I might as well just say Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company. Nwimlik.
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 Just call it
So
that.
It was named after the president and chairman of the board of Nwimlik. So it's not that interesting why it was named the Edmund Fitzgerald. It's a cool name, but
Damn. Yeah, I
meh.
thought Edmund was maybe a cool guy, but he was just
The president and chairman of the board of the Nwimlik.
lame.
And it was launched on June 8th, 1958, from River Rouge, Michigan. So it was okay. This is what I also don't understand is so the Nwimlik put it on a permanent charter with the Columbia Transportation Division of Oglebay Norton Company of Cleveland. I don't know what any of those words mean, but they were in my research, and I believe that this means that like Nwimlik was leasing it out, like was funding the charter, but they weren't like.
So it was like
they must have reaped some of the profits,
passive income opportunity.
Possibly, I don't
like they built a ship really so understand. Other people could use it. Like they're a ship landlord.
I guess
a ship lord. I guess a maritime lord.
I don't really know.
I need to get into that.
I don't really know how it works, but basically, this ship. All we really need to know. I don't need to get into business shit. I just need to understand that it was a ship that was usually loaded with taconite, which is little iron ore pellets. It's iron ore that's melted down into these like tiny little circular pellets, and it was taking them usually from Silver Bay, Minnesota. That's where she was loaded, and then they took those taconite pellets down to the steel mills on the lower lakes near Detroit and Toledo. So she was usually empty on the way back to the Silver Bay.
Okay.
So the Edmund Fitzgerald had several small run-ins because it was a massive ship, which is it's not that surprising. Like it collided with a few ships, and it had like a couple of times when it got damaged. But it was never anything that was like considered out of the ordinary for people. Basically, like accidents happen. Basically, like the whole philosophy was
the bay they were in is pretty small for a lot of ships, right?
Yeah, and it's like, to be honest, it's a big ship, and I think they're kind of like shit happens. Like it's it's gonna
pay much attention.
Big ship, it's gonna run into things. But there was nothing that was like made it unsafe for passage. Basically, it was always seemingly repaired when necessary, and then like put back out on the water. And basically, it was like you can tell that it was something that wasn't really a big deal to people because it was still considered like a really privilege. It was considered a privilege to serve aboard the Edmund Fitzgerald because it was quite famous already because it became the first carrier to haul more than 1 million tons, insane, of iron ore through the locks of Sault Ste. Marie. I assume that's how you say it. You could also just say it's Sault Ste. Marie. I don't really know. That's the only pronunciation thing I have in this. But she had, so she was quite famous already, and she earned the nicknames the Big Fitz and the Pride of the American Flag, which is cute.
That was my nickname.
Big Fitz, yeah, my nickname. The Pride of the American Flag.
The Pride of the American Flag, that was my nickname.
It's crazy. So about the captain. So I just thought this was interesting, and it's worth recognizing this man who how he was a veteran mariner, and he had 44 years of experience captaining Great Lakes ships, which is a lot of time. And he took command of the of the Big Fitz, if you will, in 1972. He was captain of 9 ships before he took command of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Quite the resume.
Yeah, I know. He's probably a hard man. But he was quiet. He was known to be quiet, but was very well respected by both his peers, so his fellow captains, and all of the men that served under him. And he seemed to respect them a lot as well, which is, I don't know. I just think that's nice. Mm-hmm. Did I say his name? Because I don't think I did. His name was Ernest McSorley. Sorry.
Ernest.
Sorry, Ernest. Ernest
Man, I wish my
McSorley.
last name could be McSorley. That's
I
cute.
know. Doesn't he have a cute name? I know.
I love that.
And his wife's name is Nellie McSorley. And
Nelly.
he was
Oh, Nelly.
oh Nellie. He was 62 in 1975. And he was happily married to his wife Nellie, and she had 3 kids from a previous marriage. So he didn't. They didn't have it. Him and Nellie didn't have any kids of their own, but he had 3 stepkids with his happy wife. So we're getting into 1975, which is near the end of the Edmund Fitzgerald's tenure. And there was actually about 10 days, I think it was 10 days. Yeah, 10 days before the Edmund Fitzgerald set off for its final voyage, there was a Coast Guard inspection. So it was noted on October 31st, 1975, so on Halloween of 1975, that there was a problem with the hold when the Coast Guard inspected. This was just a routine inspection that they were doing. It wasn't like anything special, but they noted that some of the hatch covers that sealed the cargo areas didn't close properly, which meant that water that washed over the side of the ship would be able to leak into the cargo hold, which obviously is not great because it can saturate things and then make it heavier. So that was scheduled. Like, I guess they found it to be a problem, but not so much of a problem that they were going to fix it immediately. They had scheduled that for the end of shipping season, which must have been pretty soon after November, I would imagine.
Yeah, I would hope.
You never know. You would hope.
Those witches are going to get you.
Yeah. So the final journey of the Edmund Fitzgerald began on November 9th, 1975 in Superior, Wisconsin. It was loaded with about 26,000 tons of taconite pellets. They departed about 2:30 p.m. and pretty soon afterwards they were joined by, I guess they do this, like if they're in radio contact with like another ship that's nearby, like they just like, hang out on the line.
Yeah.
I think that's
I would like to think that would be us
thing.
if we were captains of different ships.
I know. It's really cute. This other ship, the Arthur M. Anderson, which had departed from Two Harbors, Minnesota under Captain Bernie Cooper, they started to be in contact, and they were going to be in contact for the whole journey just because they were on a similar schedule and going towards a similar place, I think. But the Edmund Fitzgerald took the lead because it was the faster of the two ships, and so the distance between the two ships was usually at around 10 to 15 miles, but they were still in radio contact. And this is the point at which I'm going to read a lot of quotes from this article from the Great Lakes Shipwreck Historical Society. So it says, aware of a building November storm entering the Great Lakes from the Great Plains, Captain McSorley and Captain Cooper agreed to take the northerly course across Lake Superior. I don't know what that means, but apparently that's where they would be protected by highlands on the Canadian shore. So it was, I think, from what I can gather, because I read a lot about weather, and this is why I'm quoting a lot of things, because I'm not a weather expert, and I don't know the pattern of Lake Superior. Like, I don't claim to be an expert in that. And so I believe what it means is that it was always better to have land on one side to protect you from the winds. Because I think that must be related to that like pendulum to the what is it called? Sieges.
Sieges, yeah.
I think that might help with that, from what I can gather. So they were protected by highlands on the Canadian shore. So this took them between Isle Royale and the Keweenaw Peninsula. They would later make a turn to the southeast to eventually reach the shelter of Whitefish Point. And now I'm going to read the rest of what they said at the Whitefish Point. So, the weather conditions that day were not great, and then they continued to deteriorate. So gale warnings had been issued at 7 p.m. on November 9th, and it was upgraded to storm warnings early in the morning of November 10th. While conditions were bad, with winds gusting to 50 knots and seas of 12 to 16 feet, both captains had often piloted their vessels in similar conditions. In the early afternoon of November 10th, the Fitzgerald had passed Michipicoten Island and was approaching Caribou Island. The Anderson was just approaching Michipicoten, about 3 miles off the West Inlet. This is another reason why I wanted to read the article, because it explains this whole incident quite well. Like, I didn't really understand this whole like potential crash issue until I read this article. Captain Cooper maintained that he watched the Edmund Fitzgerald pass far too close to the 6 Fathom Shoal to the north of Caribou Island. He could clearly see the ship and the beacon on Caribou on his radar set and could measure the distance between them. He and his officers watched the Fitzgerald pass right over the dangerous area of shallow water. By this time, snow and rising spray had obscured the Fitzgerald from sight, visible 17 miles ahead on the radar. At 3:30 p.m. that afternoon, Captain McSorley radioed Captain Cooper and said, "Anderson, this is the Fitzgerald. I have a fence rail down, 2 vents lost or damaged, and a list. I'm checking down. Will you stay by me till I get to Whitefish?" McSorley was checking down his speed to allow the Anderson to close the distance for safety. So he's saying he's got all these problems on November 10th. And saying like, "Hey, I'm going to slow down. Can you come closer to me just in case? Like, I think it's fine, but just in case, I'm going to slow down.
Will you hold my hand?
A bit closer?
Yeah.
And will you hold my hand?" Basically. And so McSorley was checking down his speed to allow... Yeah, I already said that. Captain Cooper asked McSorley if he had his pumps going, and McSorley said yes, both of them. I assume that means water pumps to get water out of the hold.
That would make sense because you said there was a list, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it was tilting.
Yeah, there was a list. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was tilted, and they couldn't like write it, basically. As the afternoon wore on, radio communications with the Fitzgerald concerned navigational information, but no extraordinarily alarming reports were offered by Captain McSorley. At about 5:20 p.m., crest of a wave smashed the Anderson's starboard lifeboat, making it unusable. Captain Cooper reported winds from the northwest-northwest, a steady 58 knots with gusts of up to 70 knots and seas of 18 to 25 feet. According to Captain Cooper, about 6:55 p.m., he and the men in the Anderson's pilot house felt a bump, felt the ship lurch, then turned to see a monstrous wave engulfing their entire vessel from astern. The wave worked its way along the deck, crashing on the back of the pilot house, driving the bow of the Anderson down into the sea. This is a quote from, I believe this is a quote from Cooper. Then the Anderson just raised up and shook herself off of all that water. Baroof, just like a big dog. Another wave, just like the first one, or bigger, hit us again. I watched those 2 waves head down the lake towards the Fitzgerald, and I think those were the 2 that sent her under. So he thinks that the waves that, like, it didn't crash their ship, but it could have. Mm-hmm. And I believe that this is part of the sieges. Like, he was like,
yeah, that can just keep slapping.
That can just keep going.
That's crazy.
So this is all, like, this whole account, which is so good, is from Morgan Clark, who was the first mate of the Anderson. And he was watching the Fitzgerald on the radar set on this night to try and calculate the distance from other vessels near Whitefish Point. And he kept losing sight on the radar from sea return, which meant apparently that the seas were so high that they interfered with the radar reflection. So Clark was speaking to the Fitzgerald one last time about 7 p.m., and this is the transcript of their radio contact. "Fitzgerald, this is the Anderson. Have you checked down?" "Yes, we have." "Fitzgerald, we are about 10 miles behind you and gaining about 1.5 miles per hour. Fitzgerald, there is a target 19 miles ahead of us, so the target would be 9 miles ahead of you." Well, answered Captain McSorley, am I going to clear? Yes, he is going to pass to the west of you. Well, fine. By the way, Fitzgerald, how are you making out with your problems? Asked Clark. We are holding our own. Okay, fine, I'll be talking to you later. Clark signed off. The radar signal, or PIP, of the Fitzgerald kept getting obscured by sea return. And around 7:15 p.m., the PIP was lost again, but this time did not reappear. Clark called the Fitzgerald again at about 7:22 p.m. There was no answer. Captain Cooper contacted the other ships in the area by radio, asking if anyone had seen or heard from the Fitzgerald. The weather had cleared dramatically, and his written report states, at this time, I became very concerned about the Fitzgerald. Couldn't see his lights when we should have. I then called the William Clay Ford to ask him if my phone was putting out a good signal, and also if perhaps the Fitzgerald had rounded the point and was in shelter. After a negative report, I called the Sioux Coast Guard because I was sure something had happened to the Fitzgerald. The Coast Guard were at this time trying to locate a 16-foot boat that was overdue. The Coast Guard are concerned with a 16-foot boat when the Fitzgerald is 700
They said, sorry,
feet.
we're busy.
Sorry, we're busy.
Sorry.
Leave us alone.
Gotta answer this other call real quick, actually.
So, with mounting apprehension, Captain Cooper called the Coast Guard once again, about 8 p.m., and firmly expressed his concern for the welfare of the Fitzgerald. The Coast Guard then initiated its search for the missing ship. By that time, the Anderson had reached the safety of Whitefish Bay, to the relief of all aboard. But the Coast Guard called Captain Cooper back at 9 p.m. Anderson, this is Group Sioux. What is your present position? We're down here about 2 miles off of Parisian Island. Parisian? Oh, okay. Parisian Island right now. The wind is northwest 40 to 45 miles here in the bay. Is it calming down at all, do you think? In the bay it is, but I heard a couple of the salties talking up there, and they wish they hadn't gone out. I don't know what a salty is. So take that
Maybe
with
just
fishermen? I don't know.
yeah, my brain.
Or
It would be
salt
just like
transporters? I don't know.
I don't know.
Oh, well,
I think I
whatever.
just Googled it wrong, but I don't want to.
I assume it's just a sailor because they were just saying like
Yeah.
they thought about like going out was bad. Bad idea.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any possibility, and this is the Coast Guard talking, do you think there's any possibility and you could come about and go back there and do any searching? Oh God, I don't know. That sea out there is tremendously large. If you want me to, I can, but I'm not going to be making any time. I'll be lucky to make 2 or 3 miles an hour going back out that way. Well, you'll have to make a decision as to whether you will be hazarding your vessel or not, but you're probably one of the only vessels right now that can get to the scene. We're going to try to contact those saltwater vessels and see if they can't possibly come about and possibly come back also. Things look pretty bad right now. It looks like she may have split apart at the seams like the Morel did a few years back. Well, that's what I've been thinking, but we were talking to him about 7, and he said that everything was going fine. He said that he was going along like an old shoe, no problems at all. What the hell does that mean? Going along like an old shoe. Right.
Classic.
Of course. Classic. I'm always going along like an old shoe.
If there's one thing about me, it's that
I'm always saying that.
Always saying that.
Yeah. Well, again, do you think, and then this is the Coast Guard again. Mm-hmm. Well, again, do you think you could come about and go back and have a look in the area? Well, I'll go back and take a look, but God, I'm afraid I'm going to take a hell of a beating out there. I'll turn around and give her a whirl, but God, I don't know. I'll give it a try. That would be good, says the Coast Guard.
They said, yeah, thanks.
They said, God, yeah, okay. Do you realize what the conditions are out there? No reply from the Coast Guard. Captain Cooper tries again. Affirmative. From what your reports are, I can appreciate the conditions. Again, though, I have to leave that decision up to you as to whether it would be hazarding your vessel or not. If you think you can go safely back up to the area, I would request that you do so. But I have to leave the decision up to you. I'll give it a try, but that's all I can do. So, all that being said, the Anderson did hazard their vessel, and they went out as the primary search vessel after losing contact with the Edmund Fitzgerald.
He had to go look for his friend.
Yeah. They did discover the 2 lifeboats from the Edmund Fitzgerald that were very badly damaged, and it was clear that they had just, like, the same way that the wave had smashed off their own, lifeboat. That's pretty clear. That's what had happened to the Edmund Fitzgeralds as well. And there was other debris, but they didn't see any survivors. Another quote from the article says, only one other vessel, the William Clay Ford, which they were talking about with the Coast Guard, was able to leave the safety of Whitefish Bay to join in the search at the time. The Coast Guard also launched a fixed-wing HU-16 aircraft at 10 p.m., and they also dispatched 2 cutters, the Naugatuck and the Woodrush. The Naugatuck arrived at 12:45 p.m. on November 11th, and the Woodrush arrived on November 14th, having journeyed all the way from Duluth. So, with the cutters and the aircraft and the other 2 ships, they conducted a very extensive and thorough search. A U.S. Navy plane also joined in the search, and it was equipped with this magnetic anomaly that could detect metal, I assume, because of magnet. And it located a strong contact 17 miles northwest of Whitefish Point. And following that, during the next 3 days, the cutter Woodrush, using a side scan sonar, located 2 giant pieces of the wreckage in the same area, and another sonar survey was conducted on November 22nd through 25th. Then fast forwarding, because I think that was all that they could do before the end of shipping season. Mm-hmm. So in the following May of 1976, again, the cutter, the Woodrush, conducted a 3rd side scan sonar survey. The contacts were strong enough to bring in the U.S. Navy's Curve 3 controlled underwater recovery vehicle. So they knew enough, or they had enough evidence, I guess, to be like, we think that the shipwreck is here. Can you bring in the recovery thing? So on May 20th, 1976, the words Edmund Fitzgerald were clearly seen on the stern, upside down, 535 feet below the surface of the lake. This recovery vehicle took 43,000 feet of videotape and 900 photographs of the wreck. So this is when they initially found the wreck in May of 1976. The official report of the Coast Guard said that they could not conclusively determine why the Edmund Fitzgerald sank. But it maintained that the, quote, most probable cause of the sinking of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald was the loss of buoyancy and stability resulting from massive flooding of the cargo hold. The flooding of the cargo hold took place through ineffective hatch closures as boarding seas rolled along the spar deck. So basically, exactly like
those 2 big
broken hatch. It was too heavy. So from what I can gather, the Fitzgerald was sat, because it was heavy, it was sat lower in the water than it was used to. So the water line was, or the lay line, something, they call it something. And it was lower in the water, basically, which increased the frequency and quantity of water that flooded the deck. Number 2, the hatch covers allowed that water to enter the cargo area, causing the ship to sink lower. And then also, like Captain Cooper maintained, he thinks that there was damage in the hull because he swore that he saw the Fitzgerald ground itself, essentially, in the shallow waters near Caribou Island. Then I'm going to read. Was the last call that he had with the captain of the Fitzgerald? McSorley. Yeah, McSorley. Was the last call he had with him before or after those 2 massive waves? It's a good question. Let me look and see the timings. After. But, according to Captain Cooper, about 6:55 p.m., he and the men in the Anderson's pilot house felt the bump. So that was the wave at 6:55 p.m., and then the last time they heard from the Fitzgerald, was it 7, right? It was at 7:10 p.m. And he said, we were holding our own. And that was the last time that at around 7:15 p.m., their radar pip was lost. Okay. So it literally could have been 5 minutes. Could it have taken that long for the waves to get? I'm sure it could have, because they were like 10 miles away. 10, 15 miles away? No? I mean, I feel like that
Maybe,
seems
yeah.
reasonable.
I feel like
Like
that could check
15
out.
minutes,
I could, yeah.
a mile a minute. I don't know.
Hmm.
Um,
That's
and
wild.
also the expectation here is that
Mm-hmm.
it went down quickly.
Yeah,
The
right.
reason why they didn't contact anyone is because, or there was
It
no
was
distress
just all
calls,
up.
was because
Yeah.
it just all happened at once and they had no idea it was happening until it happened. Just like, I mean, the Anderson also didn't know what was happening
Yeah,
until that
didn't see
wave had
the.
hit them,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read the rest of this article now. It just sums things up quite well. So I just read the official Coast Guard report, which says like there's no conclusive evidence, but we think this is what happened. We think it, which is logical, honestly. But then the Lake Carriers Association apparently vigorously disagreed with the Coast Guard's suggestion that the lack of attention to properly closing the hatch covers by the crew was responsible for the disaster. They issued a letter to the National Transportation Safety Board in September 1977. The Lake Carriers Association was inclined to accept the Fitzgerald passed over the 6 fathom shoal area as reported by Captain Cooper. So they think that it sank because of the hull, the damage to the hull, I guess.
Gotcha. Okay.
Later, in a
Makes sense.
videotaped conversation with the GLSHS, which are the people who wrote this article, Captain Cooper said that he always believed that McSorley knew something serious had happened to the Fitzgerald as the ship passed over Caribou Shoal. Cooper believes that from that point on, McSorley knew he was sinking, but that I don't think that. Basically, conflicting
Yeah.
theories about the cause of the tragedy obviously remain active today. The GLSHS has done 3 expeditions to the wreck that revealed that it is likely that she submarined bow first into an enormous sea, as damage forward is indicative of a powerful quick force to the superstructure. What that means, I think, is it happened quickly, like it happened in the blink
Yeah.
of an eye. But they're saying what caused the ship to take on water, lose enough to lose buoyancy and dive to the bottom so quickly without a single cry for help. We don't actually know. Um, 29 men were lost when the Fitzgerald went down. There have never been any bodies recovered. Um, there is no conclusive evidence to determine the cause of the sinking. And I don't remember, in 1995, on July 4th, 1995, they recovered the hull of or not the hull, they recovered the Fitzgerald's bell, sorry, from the bottom of Lake Superior, and they replaced it with a replica. Um, they recovered the bell, but then replaced it in the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum with a replica that has the engraved names of the crew on it. And at the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum, in a ceremony at and this is at Whitefish Point, where they were
Mm-hmm.
going. On November 10th, 1995, the bell was presented to the relatives of the crew and rung 30 times, once for each of the members of the crew, and a final time in honor of all of those who have lost their lives at sea. And it's still there at the Shipwreck Museum. And that was a quote from the National Weather Service. Basically, the reason why we know about the Edmund Fitzgerald, and well,
And
I mean, I
there's a
think there's a
song
lot of
written about
reasons.
it.
Yeah, but the reason why it's popular is because of Gordon Lightfoot, who was a Canadian songwriter. He immortalized the loss of the Fitzgerald and all 29 men aboard with his 1976 song "Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald." And so
Shout
that's
out
inspired a
Gordon.
lot of like, shout out Gordon. So that's inspired a lot of like interest and public interest, and people are just, I think, kind of fascinated with the fact that like they didn't call for help. And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what makes it spooky. And also the fact that it's just all intact at the bottom of Lake Superior. I mean, it's not intact, it's cracked in half. But like, but it's called a mausoleum ship because none of the bodies have ever been recovered from it. And we're just assuming that they're all still inside. So, and probably incredibly
Wild.
well preserved. Which
Yeah.
I never want to read about or see any pictures of. Thank you. And that's it. That's the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Wow.
And Lake Superior.
Another. Oh, I remembered what I was gonna say earlier.
Okay.
There's also I don't know what the name for. I think it's just ice push-ups, but when ice covers the lake, and then sometimes the strong winds can still happen, and it'll push the ice up onto shore and create just like it's just thousands of tons of ice being pushed onto shore.
Hey, so that's
And you
horrible,
just get
and
big
I hate
ice walls.
That's
Crazy,
horrible,
right?
and I hate it.
Yeah. There's also a sort of kind of mountain under Lake Superior. There's also a a lighthouse right by it, just in the middle of the lake, because it's easy to crash into. Yeah,
Easy
I
to crash
didn't
into
take
the
more
mountain.
notes on that, but Geo talks about it kind of in a Spooky Lakes
Okay.
Lake Superior episode.
That's horrifying, and I hate it. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe she'll talk about it more if she covers it again, October 31st. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's a bit of a tradition. Also, my doodle for this week is I'm just gonna color in the Spooky Lakes book coloring page of Lake Superior because it has Edmund Fitzgerald on it, and I can't outdoodle Geo.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna color in what she doodled. More than a doodle, she's an actual artist, not a doodler. I'm just a doodler.
I'm sure she would.
I'm nothing but a doodler.
Hey, that sounds inappropriate. And that's our show. Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, see you next time.
Feel uncomfortable with that until next time.
Just sit with that.
Just sit with that knowledge.
I'm gonna sit and think about that.
Let it soak in.
Let it soak.
Also sounds inappropriate.
Maybe we should.
Hey, did you know it? Auden didn't understand the joke about... He was listening to our episode, the last episode that we released, and he was like, I was laughing because he was like, read that description and see if anything stands out to you. And I was like, you're talking about the great sucking off. And he was like, do you know what that means, Maddie? And I was like, yes, I know what that means. He was like, I was just wondering if that was like, is that like a thing you say in America? Because that means like blowjobs. And I was like, yeah, I know what it means. And so then I had to explain to him the whole lore of like ghosts and like
I didn't realize that he hadn't also seen ghosts.
No, he hasn't. No.
Okay.
But
then yeah,
I was like, that's just what they call like ascending to another realm, is like getting sucked off. And he was like,
yeah.
Oh, it's tongue in cheek. And I was like, yeah. I didn't just put the great sucking off for fun in our description. So anyways.
Anyhow. Still haven't gotten sucked off.
Looking forward to it.
Alright.
It has been 0 days since we talked about being sucked off on the podcast.
Yep. You know what we haven't mentioned, though, that I'm not going to keep the streak alive?
They who must not be named.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should end this before we get into it.
We should, yeah. Okay.
Alright. Catch you on the flippity flop.
We get you on the flippity flop. Bye.
Bye-bye.